At SoundTrap. So once you go into the studio, quote unquote, this is the screen you should see. It has normal settings like you'd see in pretty much any other program. A normal menu up here. So you have File, and in File you can do New, Open a Recent, go back to previous versions of the project you're working on. Also has a Save button. This program does not automatically save, so keep that in mind. This Revert is kind of your undo button. You can export, so you're exporting a project to either an MP3 or a WAV file. If someone uses MIDI, you can export to MIDI as well. That would be like if you create a song and you want to put it into sheet music, you could export it to like something called Noteflight, and you can actually make the sheet music from it. You can share this project. So if you have someone who's also on SoundTrap, you can share the project and they can edit the project as well. And then you can exit back to the main screen. In Edit, you have all these options. Now, obviously, nothing is highlighted because we do not have anything in our project yet. So you have Undo. This will go back one step, which is different from Revert, which will go back to a previous version. So undo, you redo if you want to do something a bunch of times. Split a region, so if you want to split like a track you have. Merge regions if you want to combine them. Mute one. Cut, copy, paste, delete. It's also an auto-tune option. And create a region, which would be like a create a part in a track. Settings, MIDI settings, or if you have a MIDI keyboard or some sort of drum machine controller. Again, merging tracks. Monitoring, this is so you can hear yourself when recording or playing an instrument. So that's enabled. You'll be able to hear what you're saying with any effects you have on it. This is the sound quality. Podcast tools, this will actually create a transcript of what you are saying as you record, which is pretty cool, and language. There's also tutorials if you need tutorials for anything. Over here, again, you have a undo and redo button. You have your save button. You have your go back to a different version button or your revert button. And this tells you if your project is saved or if it's mixing. Right now it is mixing because I had saved it earlier. Here's where you can name your song. So I can type in test song 1. Here is a share button. Again, you can share with friends and they can collaborate, or they can just listen. Exit Studio. This is an upgrade button if you want to get a paid version. Over here on the right, you have your loops button. So you can pick different loops. So for example, maybe I want just a kind of a beat. You can here test it out. All right. If you want to favorite it, you can favorite it over here. You can type in different things. You can say, flute. I don't know if anything will pop up. Oh, look at that flute. That's fun. All right. So those are all your loops. And if you want a loop, say I want this one, you just simply drag it out into your project and it'll create that loop. All right. This button is like the social button. You can invite collaborators, you can see all of them, you can call each other while you're working on it together. This is nice if you're doing a podcast where you're interviewing someone. You can call, and I believe you can record as they're talking to you there. Couple other buttons. Here you have the cycle mode. So the cycle is this purple bar up here. You click it on and off, and what that does is when you hit play, it will, I'll make a shorter cycle. You can drag the cycle. When you hit play, it'll go through, and when it hits the end of the cycle, it'll just simply repeat. So say you're trying to listen to something, figure something out, you can just simply cycle that part over and over again. Now if you want to hear the whole track, you can just turn it off, or you can use this button over here. This button right here, it looks like a rainbow, but it's actually a magnet. This will, if it's on, your region, whatever you're dragging, has to line up with one of these lines. It won't allow you to put it in the middle of one of those lines. But if you click it off, you can then move it wherever you want and stop it. So the magnet kind of magnetizes it to a certain line up here on the ruler. So if you want to put a track not on there, you have to click off to be able to change that. Over here you have your track information. You can click and rename, so I can call this loop 1 if I wanted to. You have your volume control. You have the solo button, so this will, if you have multiple tracks, you can just hear that track. You have the mute button, and you have the automation control. So automation is changing different parts of the track automatically throughout the piece. So for example, volume, I can make the volume go up and then back down and then back up and then back down, and this will happen automatically now instead of me having to control it throughout. It gets louder and then it gets quieter again. You can also you can delete that automation. You can also do things like pan. So pan means like left, right, or center. So I go down here and I can bring it back up, down, up, and that'll change where the audio is in your headphones. And you can do multiples. You can do pan and volume. You can do all of them. And so, once I put it on, if I don't want to see it anymore, I just hit it. It's still there, but I don't have to see it anymore. But for right now, let's just get rid of that. What else? If you click on the actual picture over here, it'll bring up the keyboard or the piano roll. You can change, so it'll be the same loop, same sort of rhythm and everything, but you can change the instrument it's on. So now instead of sounding like it did before, it's going to sound like so it's the same loop, but the actual sound itself changed. So that's a good way to be able to customize things. Inside of this as well, you have different effects. So if you want to change like the reverb, the pan, the volume, that kind of stuff. In addition, you have add effects. So here's even more effects you can work with. And if you click on add effect, a big pedal screen pops up. You can test what these would sound like, what they do. So you want to add one, you click on it, it's now there. You can, change the rate and stuff. That's a good reason to have the cycle on. So you can, put the cycle on, hit play, go back to your effects, and now you can mess with them while it's just playing over and over again. You can add more than one effect as well. So then maybe you want rotary. If you don't like that, you can either turn it off or you can just exit out of it. There's even more effects here, so automatic. And maybe you don't like that effect, just go back to basic amp. All right. If you happen to have a MIDI keyboard at home, you can plug it in and play it, or you can actually use your regular computer keyboard. You can change the octave, so if you want like a lower octave, all that kind of stuff. Sustain will hold out notes. Piano roll shows you kind of like a music box, shows you where the notes are. And in this case, say you want to change one note, you can just drag it and it'll go there instead. If you want to change things, you can use the pencil as well to just write in notes. This is the velocity, so you can make it quieter or louder, and then you can also just click and delete notes as well. To add new tracks, you can click here. So voice and microphone, that's what we're going to use most of the time. Piano and keyboards, guitar, bass, drums and beats, all these things. You can also go to the loop library, or you can import a file. So say you have some background music from something else, you can import that file. So if we were going to add a microphone track, This would pop up. You then have effects. What I like to use is dry. That gives you basically no effects on your voice, and then you can edit it later. They also have a podcast voice. I think the podcast voice has a lot of reverb and is very echoey. I'm not that big of a fan, but you can also adjust that in here. But again, I like using dry, but you can mess around with whatever kind you would like. Over here, you can pick your microphone. So if you have a microphone at home that is not just your computer microphone, so for example, this would be the built-in microphone, but I happen to have a different microphone, I can click that one, and that could be my microphone there. You can also do a volume check. So if you click this button here, and I can test. I'm testing, still testing, test, and then it sets it for you. So now your microphone volume check is set. All right, you can click done, and then you can simply start recording. Now, a couple things to make sure of is you want to click over to the beginning of your piece. If you don't have headphones, you want to make sure the other tracks are muted, and you want to make sure the R is recording. Now, I don't have headphones, so to protect your ears, monitoring has been switched off. If the monitoring is not switched off, you will get feedback and it will not be fun. So I want to make sure R is just on there, and then I can record the track that I want to record. I'm recording. I hit stop. Oh, it didn't record because I didn't let it do its thing. So it's get ready, 3, 4, 5, and now I'm recording. Stop. And now I have my voice recorded. I'm gonna get rid of that. And let's see what we sound like. Now I'm recording. So that's my track I recorded. If I click on the microphone again, it brings me here. Again, that was with the dry. If I want to use podcast voice, I can still change it. So now it sounds like this. Now I'm recording. So it has a little more reverb to it. I can also pick other things. Let's try psychedelic. Let's see what we get. Whoa, that is psychedelic. All right. So again, you can pick whatever kind of effects you want. My suggestion is dry, and then if you want to go and add effects in, you can add any of these effects in. That is up to you. And again, same thing, you can use automation, all that kind of stuff over here. Some other main controls, say you want to really look at this file, you can zoom in a bunch, and now you can really see the file a lot. Same thing, you can zoom out. Down here you have the metronome, so say you're trying to play some music, you can put the metronome on, and here are your metronome settings. This is the tempo, you can change it, you can either click a tempo in, and it'll change the tempo, and then you can hit confirm, or you can just, plus or minus it. And then this, if you have loops in there, it'll ask you if you want to match the new tempo. 9 times out of 10, yes, you want to adjust it. So now your loops will be in tempo with everything. This is the key. Again, if you're playing music, you can change the keys so that all your loops line up. And then your normal controls, record, back to the top, back a little bit, play, forward a little bit. This is your time, and then this is your master volume. This is the volume of all the tracks combined. This, again, will show your instrument, same as this button here, and then add new track. You can also click on edit the track here, and you can do some things. You can fade in, it'll do an automatic fade. You can fade out, it'll do an automatic fade out. You can reverse the track. You can auto-tune. I've never actually done this. Let's see what it sounds like. It's probably not enough stuff to auto-tune it on, but you can auto-tune. You can voice transform. Maybe you want your voice a little darker, or very dark, or you want it to sound like a baby. You can do that. Let's see what a baby will sound like. That is a reversed baby with a fade out. All right, and again, if you want to undo any of this stuff, you can simply undo it. So now we're back to this. Now I'm recording. You can change the pitch, or you can add this to loop library. So maybe you make something that you really like, you can add it to your library, and now it is looped. You can also edit the name. So you do make a loop and you want to continue it. You just simply go up to this loop-de-loop arrow and you can drag it out, and now I'm recording. Now I'm recording. And it'll loop it over and over again. Same thing, you can drag it back. Going down here will either extend or shorten the loop, or whatever track you have, even if it's voice. Notice it won't go past what data it has. So this is how long my file is, so I can't drag it further. I can, however, make it shorter. So now it's only this long. Now I'm recording. Instead of being that long. Again, in edit, you can split the region. So notice, I don't want to do that. Notice where my marker is, this purple line. If I go to edit now and split region, it splits it right there. So maybe I recorded, but I want to put music in the middle, I can just split. And then I can move, my music to the middle. And now it's like that. You can also mute the region, delete, again, auto tune, change pitch. So again, that's the edit button that appears. If your file is long enough, it'll do there. Or you can just go in the edit here and change it there. I think that is everything. Up here, make sure you're always saving. Again, it doesn't automatically save like some online projects, so you have to hit save. It'll save, and then notice it is mixing. So it's mixing down the whole project. So say I wanted to export, it'll say can't do that yet because it is mixing, and it has to go to the servers and then come back. So eventually it'll go back to that downward arrow onto a line, and that's when you can download the track. What I suggest, if you are making a introduction music, don't put your introduction music and your podcast in the same file. So, for example, if I'm going to get rid of these tracks. Notice that this went back to this, so it means I could download the file if I wanted to. So say I throw some loops in here. Alright, so hey, there's my new intro. What I would do is, I would save this, I would let it mix down, I would then file, export to either an MP3 or a WAV, and then I would import this through my computer and add that to my podcasts, because then you have more control. Because say I want to, fade out the intro before I start talking. If I have it this way, I have to fade out every track of my intro. If I condense it down to one file, now I'm just dealing with one file for my intro, and it's less to deal with and less work. You can do it this way. I can now go record my podcast, but instead I want to download it. Notice it's now downloaded. I can then either, delete this or save it for another time, drag this in, and there's my intro as one file. Now I can say, fade out. So now it fades out. I can then, add my new track here. Wherever you click, the project will start and then give you an 8-click count in. Hey everyone, and welcome to my podcast. It's gonna be so cool. And now I have now I didn't wear headphones, so this is what happens. Hey everyone, and welcome. Notice if I mute this, you can hear my intro in the background. Oops, I muted the wrong one. Notice if I mute this, you can hear my intro in the background. Hey everyone, and welcome to my podcast. So make sure your tracks are muted before you start recording, unless you're wearing headphones, and then it won't be an issue. Yeah, I think that is all the features on here. Again, make sure you're saving. A few people, when they were doing their favorite songs podcast, they just let like their computer play and hit record. Again, I suggest going to something like y2mate.com to download the song off like YouTube, and then add that file into the project. It'll give you a cleaner sound, and then you can edit it down by using this feature to lengthen it or shorten whatever file you're working on. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, please let me know. There are buttons in the middle that you can use to get you to some of the same items. Browse loops is the same as this button. Play the synth brings up that keyboard. Invite a friend does that invite button. Import a file just brings in that menu. Add a new track would be the same as over here. The one that we didn't really look at is the beat pattern maker. So say you want to make your own drum beat. If I hit play, notice this dot starts moving. If I add, on each beat, so that's the downbeat. You can then put snare. All right, so that'll create a drum beat. You can change the sounds here. Maybe I want it to be slam funk instead. You can add more instruments, so maybe I want to add a bell of a cymbal. All right, and you can hit generate. It takes a second. I'll take a sip of coffee. Again, this has to go all the way back to the servers, so sometimes this stuff takes a little bit of time. And now it's a loop in your project, and you can loop it over and over again. So for example, now it is just looped. Now I just made that drum loop, all right? And then you can edit it any way you want. I can even add it to the loop library and make a new loop in there. Quantize. This will say you manually inputted something from like a keyboard or a drum machine. You can make it sync up better by clicking one of these. This is a more advanced option. If you have any questions about that, let me know and I'll go into it. But again, you have all the same options as before when it came to editing a track. All right, now I believe that is everything you need to know with SoundTrap. Remember those microphone tips, speak closely to the microphone. If you have headphones with microphones built in, such as like the Apple ones or AirPods, you can use them when you're using a track. Just sync them to your computer, and then when you're down here, click AirPods or click that microphone as your microphone. You might get a better sound. If you can, surround yourself with some soft items like blankets and pillows, and you'll get a better sound. If you have hard surfaces around you, like right now I have a desk and walls and a floor, the voice tends to bounce off those things and you get kind of a mushy voice. So if you can deaden the sound around you with pillows and blankets, make sort of like a little recording booth. You will get a better sound when recording. So use these tips moving forward when recording our new podcasts. Also try and quiet your pets. As you'll notice, my dog is in the background. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm happy to Zoom and screen share and all that kind of stuff to help out with your podcasts. I'll see you soon.